So we're diving into Rajon Kalia's Winds of Change Transformation in Human Resources.
Yeah, catchy title, right.
Definitely grabs you. It's a far cry from those dry HR manuals. This article really digs into some wild changes happening in the world of work.
It's not even just keeping up anymore. It's like the whole landscape is shifting under our feet, you know?
Totally. And Kalia starts off strong with this image of people glued to their smartphones. Seems kind of obvious at first, but
Deceptively simple, right?
yeah. Because it gets at this huge difference in how employees experience work now.
It's like we take this always connected life for granted, but for employers, it's completely reshaped expectations, that constant info,
Yeah.
the instant connection. It impacts everything.
Even just thinking back a few years, how we used to give feedback, find jobs.
Totally different. Like Kalia talks about Glassdoor, that's going to be on every HR person's mind now.
Oh, right. It's like employee voices are amplified now. No more hiding.
Exactly. Your online reputation as a company. Huge deal. And HR is on the front lines of managing that 24/7. It's not just internal surveys anymore, it's the whole world watching.
So it's not just smartphones, it's what they stand for. This whole different way of working, relating to the world.
And that's where these big forces Kalia talks about come in. Geopolitics, societal shifts, the tech explosion, he calls them the big three.
The big three, yeah. But I like that he doesn't treat them separately. It's all intertwined.
100%. They're feeding off each other, you know? Like, take geopolitics. Globalization, remote work, it's a global talent pool now, but HR has to adapt.
The rule book's out the window.
Mhm.
Exciting, but kind of scary if you're the one figuring it out.
Exactly. And that's why I think this article is so timely. It's not just doom and gloom. It's like, okay, how does HR not just survive, but thrive in this new world?
So we've got this global stage set. Everyone's hyper-connected. How does that impact how companies are actually structured? Kalia talks about agile organizations needing agile HR, but what does that even mean?
It's a buzzword, right? Total buzzword. But there's real meaning underneath if you unpack it. I mean, think about traditional HR.
Very hierarchical, lots of procedures.
Exactly, like a pyramid. That top-down thing just doesn't fly in this fast-paced, ever-changing business world.
So agile means more flexible,
Yeah.
less about the org chart.
It's more about networks, collaboration, empowering people at all levels to make decisions. HR has to go from rule enforcer to, like, strategic partner.
Less about policing, more about enabling. I like that.
Right, and Kalia quotes this guy, Ram Charan, who talks about HR needing a round-trip ticket within a company.
Okay, now that was a new one on me. What's that all about?
Love this metaphor. He's saying HR folks need to spend time in other departments, get their hands dirty, really understand the business.
Can't just sit in your HR bubble.
Exactly, because how can you support employees if you're totally out of touch with what they're dealing with every day?
Makes sense. To truly advocate for people, you need that firsthand experience.
And it's not just general business sense, it's the specifics of each department, the tech they use, the challenges they face. HR needs to be in the loop.
So we've got agility, we've got being connected to the business, but Kalia argues there's this other layer now, this tech understanding, which, duh, it's everywhere, but he's getting at something deeper, right?
No, absolutely. It's not just knowing how to use the HR software. It's understanding how AI, automation, all that is changing the very nature of work itself.
And HR can't just be passive. They have to be shaping how that tech is used.
Exactly. It's about being proactive, ethical, and really thinking about the long-term impact on the workforce.
I'm sensing a theme here. HR is strategic partners, translators, bridge builders. It's a far cry from the old image, you know?
Totally. And it gets even more interesting as we think about the employee experience itself, because that's changed too, right?
Especially with millennials and now I guess whoever's coming after them. Kalia talks about them a lot, but it's bigger than just one generation.
It's a whole new mindset. This idea of the employee-employer contract is being rewritten.
Like, work used to be so transactional. You clock in, you clock out, you get paid. Now it's...
It's about purpose, flexibility, feeling valued. People want more than just a paycheck. They want a company that aligns with their values.
Okay, so how do companies do that? Create a workplace that ticks all these boxes for everyone. Seems impossible.
Right. It's a huge challenge, but this is where things get really interesting. So how do you make everyone happy? It's a question companies are wrestling with, but Kalia uses this phrase, I love mass customization.
Right, that jumped out at me too. Sounds almost like a contradiction, right? Mass producing something unique.
Totally. But it's about moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach to employees. Companies are using data and tech to tailor the experience benefits, learning, even career paths.
So like my data creates a custom work life? Is that what we're saying?
In a way, think about personalized recommendations on the web, but for your career. Some companies use AI to suggest learning based on your skills and goals.
That's wild. Like a personal career coach, but AI-powered.
Right, and performance reviews, those dreaded things. Some companies are ditching the once-a-year thing and using real-time feedback, more focused on growth.
Makes sense. That constant dialogue was probably better than one big stressful meeting a year.
And it's not just tech, policies have to adapt too. Flexible work isn't a perk anymore, it's expected.
Especially with remote work blowing up. You got to offer that freedom or people will walk.
And that ties into Kalia's point about shifting from employee to user.
Ooh, yeah, that stuck with me. It's just a word change, but it felt significant.
It's huge EE. User implies agency, choice. Like, you use our company because it works for you. If it doesn't, there are other options.
Like deleting an app that's not doing it for you. I feel seen.
Exactly. That's the shift. Employees have power now. They're savvy consumers of the workplace.
Okay, but how do you create that user experience for employees? It sounds very
Right.
theoretical.
It's about listening to your employees, understanding their needs and pain points, and then using technology and data to design a workplace experience that is as intuitive, personalized, and empowering as possible. It's about creating a work environment where employees feel valued, heard, and supported.
So we're not just talking about cool apps and flexible schedules.
It's bigger than that. It's about shifting the entire company culture to be more human-centered, even while we're all swimming in tech.
Which, let's be real, is a huge EE ask for most companies. But Kalia does give some advice on how to actually do this, right?
He does, and it's surprisingly grounded. He says HR needs to become fluent in three things: technology, compassion, and influence.
Okay, those are good, and they tie nicely into everything we've talked about. Let's break those down, starting with tech.
This isn't just about knowing your HR software. It's about understanding the forces shaping the future of work. AI, automation, data analytics. You need to know how they work, their limitations, their potential impact.
So how do you do that? Take a crash course in AI.
It can be simpler than that. Online courses are great, but so is talking to your IT department, going to industry events, even just reading articles. Curiosity is key.
Don't be afraid to ask dumb questions, basically.
Exactly. The more you understand the tech, the better you can advocate for its ethical use, which is crucial. Technology can be a force for good or bad. HR has to be the ethical compass.
Which leads perfectly to compassion, the second thing Kalia mentioned. It's interesting, we're talking about all this high-tech stuff, and then bam, compassion.
It's because of the tech. As AI takes over tasks, human skills, empathy, communication, all that become even more valuable.
So it's not HR becoming robots, it's HR becoming superhumans.
In a way, it's about building real connections, understanding different perspectives, creating a supportive environment. All those things tech can't replicate.
But tech can help facilitate some of that, right? I'm thinking communication tools, feedback systems.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about using the tools at your disposal to enhance those human connections, not replace them.
Okay, so we've got tech fluency, we've got compassion. What about the third one? Influence.
Ah, that's where the rubber meets the road. Kalia argues that to really shape the future of work, HR needs a seat at the table, not just as advisors, but as decision makers.
No more order takers, it's about having a voice.
Exactly. That means speaking the language of business, understanding the company's goals, and proving the value HR brings to the table.
It's a whole new level of leadership, not just management.
And it's scary, but also exciting. Kali believes HR has this incredible opportunity to redefine itself, but it takes guts to step into that role.
So for all our HR folks listening, or even those just curious about the future of work, what are your thoughts? What resonates? Head us up on social media. We want to hear from you. And as always, happy diving.
So before the break, we were talking about those three key areas Kalia highlights: technology, compassion, influence. Those really resonated with me. Yeah, they're huge, right? And he doesn't just leave it there. He gets into how to actually develop those skills, which, let's be honest, most HR folks didn't exactly sign up for a crash course in AI.
Right. So how do you become tech fluent as an HR pro? What does that even look like day to day?
It's not about becoming a programmer overnight. It's more about building up that tech literacy. Start small, read articles, follow tech blogs, maybe do an online course on AI or data analytics.
Even just talking to your IT team more, right? Demystifying that whole world.
Exactly. The more comfortable you are with tech, the better you can advocate for its ethical use. And that's huge GE because these tools can be used for good or bad, and HR needs to be that ethical voice.
Which leads us perfectly to Kalia's second point,
Compassion.
compassion. Kind of a surprising one in the middle of all this tech talk.
Right, but it makes total sense. Because as AI takes over more routine tasks, those uniquely human skills become more important, not less.
So it's not that HR needs less tech, it needs more heart.
Exactly. It's about building genuine relationships with employees, listening to their concerns, understanding their perspectives. AI can't do that, at least not yet.
Maybe not what we typically think of as HR skills, but in this new world of work.
They're essential, and it goes beyond the individual level. It's about creating a culture of empathy and support within the entire organization.
Which, let's be real, takes work. But when you get it right,
It's transformative. And that's where Kalia's third point comes in, influence. Because to really drive that kind of change, HR can't just be at the table. They need to be leading the conversation.
from advisors to influencers almost.
Exactly. And that means speaking the language of business, understanding the company's goals, being able to demonstrate the value HR brings to the table.
No more just processing paperwork, it's about shaping the future of work.
Right? That's it. It's a huge opportunity, but it requires HR to step up and own that leadership role.
So for all our listeners out there, whether you're knee-deep in HR or just curious about these big changes, what are your thoughts? Where do you see this going? Hit us up on social media because the conversation is just getting started. And as always, thanks for diving in with us.